Hello, my friends. It's a reaction video to the announcement today of the FM18 features headlines. They didn't go into any depth, but it's just the headlines. So I'm going to call this From a Noob for a Noob. So I'm not the guy that's been playing since like Championship Manager 2001, 2002, or anything like that. You guys know that if you've been watching my channel. That's not who I am. I'm relatively new to the game. Like I played a little bit of FM16 and then I got into making content on YouTube and all that kind of stuff in FM17. So I might have a slightly different perspective than the guys that have been playing it for like decades because I haven't been playing it for decades. That's not who I am. So if you're unaware, Sports Interactive Football Manager announced today some of like the top features that they're going to be bringing in to FM18. Things that are going to be different from the game. Apparently they've stepped their game up. They may have done a video last year, but it was from people I've talked to, it was kind of more subdued, the launch of FM17, and it seems they're quite excited about FM18. They had the thing with Loki Doki and Lelujo at the National Arcade Museum or whatever it was. Where they have a feature there, a Football Manager. It shows the match engine as it grows throughout the seasons or throughout the years. If you're thinking this doesn't seem very scripted, it's because it's not. Okay, back to what I was saying. But now, like, they've got a video. They've used a green screen with, like, I don't know who this lady is. I'm assuming she's an actress or maybe someone from the... I'd love if it was someone from the development team. I think that'd be really cool. They have a guy later in the video that is like an on-the-street reporter. He interviews Miles, who's like the director of Sports Interactive, as he's coming into work in his car. So they've stepped their game up a little bit, but you can watch it. And the link will be in the description if for some reason you haven't seen it. But I want to give you my thoughts, again, from a mostly noob for noobs standpoint. So... the first thing, let's go here. So this is Work the Space. Hi, Work the Space. He's a great content creator. But I was kind of curious let me go back to, I guess this is the very beginning. This is strategically placed. You have to think, right? Like, that's not there by accident. That looks like an update to the match engine showing the stadium, but let's watch it as it rolls. I've got it muted. You don't need to hear him talk. It's Jack. Hi, Jack. Work the Space. But watch this, like, changes, like, they're showing off, I think, some of the changes here. Lighting, different stadium options, maybe, or maybe it's because it went around the side, the stadium dropped away so you could see the pitch. Not sure. But that looks pretty significant. It's zooming. See, I guess I could move my cursor for you. It's zooming so you can see more of the field there. That was the first thing I noticed. I actually watched this. This is officially the second time I've watched the video. The first time I was, we'll pause it there, at work, and I was watching it on my phone going like, it's really hard to scroll on YouTube going backwards. But anyway, so that was the first thing I noticed, and they've been talking about potentially a new match engine, new graphics engine, things are being hinted at. So that was the first thing I noticed with that. Okay, let's go, blah, 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 interview, and we're getting close to, okay, so here we get to the actual features. Okay, so let's just pause here. People have different colored shirts on. I feel like that's just mostly like two colors right now. You still got the boards, but you've got two sets of boards. That's interesting. It's work in progress, right? So it's not final. You've got the pitch tactics analysis and updates up here and the scores up here. So instead of being kind of along the top, that's different. You still have the bar down here with the commentary. Okay, deflected. To me, that looked relatively normal. Grass, I mean, again, this is a work in progress, so the texture of the grass doesn't look fantastic. Like, it looks like two green lines, but I will withhold judgment because this is like probably an alpha or a beta work in progress. This is the thing. Okay, so people have been talking about something called dynamics. I didn't know what dynamics meant, so I was speculating in my head, like, dynamics might mean like the opponent AI adjusts like a lot more frequently throughout the game. I was actually kind of worried personally because I'm like, oh, it means you're gonna have to like make tactical changes like throughout the game, which is gonna make it harder to make like long-term content, like multiple seasons with a team. But as you can see here, I don't know why I can't get this to go away. Dynamics up here, and this is for AFC Wimbledon. You got the manager, okay, and it has overview, hierarchy, social groups, happiness, and team meeting. So apparently this is moved out from the squad tab where you have the team meeting before a big match or, you know, to break a bad run of form or something like that. So you've got your team leaders, and I'm guessing that's the captain's armband. Highly influential players, and others. Okay? All the team leaders are well established within the squad. They've been with the group a long time, have good understanding of the culture at the club. One of the team leaders is approaching the peak of his career. We should be looking to retain him and his leadership skills for years to come. All the team leaders are currently happy at the club. So it's essentially telling you about the guys at the top. You want to keep them happy because they're going to influence the rest of the players on the squad. Okay? One of the team players is approaching his career. Should he retire soon, we will sorely miss his leadership. So that's kind of like a warning. Like, we're going to need to develop another leader in part of our team culture, which is really kind of interesting to think about, right? Like, imagine if, I don't know, this is where my lack of football knowledge is gonna hurt me a little bit. Let's say Lukaku was the captain of Man United and he retired, right? Like, who's gonna step up to take his spot? Is it natural? Do you bring in somebody from the outside? So on and so forth. We're lacking a good number of highly influential players in the squad. We should look to recruit more leading players to offer greater balance within the squad. So that's interesting, because that would indicate we should look to recruit more leading players. That would indicate you can't, like, make influential players highly influential. So it's like, what is the influence of? Is it like in the footballing culture? I would think it's within the team because it's the hierarchy, right? But that, to me, because it says you should look to recruit more leading players, unless you can recruit someone from your influential players and move them up to be highly influential, to me says you have to go out and find that person. So that would impact your scouting and your transfers, because you might have a great player, but they are just influential. They're not highly influential. They're not a team leader, and they might not be worth bringing in. So that's a really interesting concept. And when you think about it in real life, like, you can't just go out and get all the best players that are jerks, right? You have to have some sort of camaraderie within teams. And I know there's going to be pockets and these guys hang out and those guys hang out and whatever. But in general, you want everybody coming together as a team. So you can't just go get a bunch of mercenaries. So that's really an interesting change. I'm curious how it works and why you couldn't make somebody go from influential to highly influential. That's what apparently dynamics means. And you got social groups up here. I can't remember if it shows it or not. It was really small on my screen when I was looking at earlier. But okay, so that's the hierarchy. Let's look at the next thing. Well, so yeah, I guess it did show you, didn't it? All right. Core social group is made up of players who are generally spirited and who have been at the club for similar lengths of time. So these guys hang out, they go to the pub after the match, right? Secondary social group A is made of players who are of a similar age and are mostly Greek. Are they also part? Is it different people? It's all different people. So you kind of have like your core social group, and you got this subgroup because they're all Greek and they're playing in England. They're like, hey, let's go, get to some tzatziki's or some euros or something like that, right? Others, these players don't currently fit in any particular social group. This may be because they're a new signing, or simply that they aren't gelling with the rest of the squad. So that seems like a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a pretty big number. So can you make them a social group? Is that a bad idea? Okay, Group A are currently content and should have little reason for complaint with the way things are going. So these guys are happy. The core group are showing signs of discontent, and consequently, the players within it could become more vocal about any issues they currently have. Okay, so these guys aren't happy. So I'm assuming there's some sort of way you can make them happy. You'd have to know what they weren't happy about. Is it because, Capo is not getting played, or Cleverly got a red card, or, is it something that you can then solve? So that's interesting. And I'd like to know, really, like, how can you integrate these 8 players into the social groups? Is there a way to kind of force that to happen? So that's really interesting, because now we're getting into, like, right now, right? It's like that you've got like they're superb, they're very good, right? And it's like this little indicator for you about their happiness. But there's not anything you really do unless it's like they're not happy about their playing time to give them more playing time. Or if they want to go on loan, you put them out on you offer them out on loan, right? So now you've got like the social aspect coming in to the squad. I think that's really interesting and kind of cool. All right. This is what I'm excited about and a little terrified. So this is showing a tactic, and I'm guessing this is zones on the field. And I'm curious if it would show, like, okay, you got these guys, and it's showing, who are we clicked on? We're not clicked on anybody. So I'm guessing like you tell these guys to kind of like work together. Like, we want you passing back and forth. Same thing here. And we want you working together down the wing. Hit early cross, exploit the left and right flank, play water, close down more. So that's not there. But it'll show you in your recent, like, based on your tactic, it'll have a recent match analysis. You regain possession, blah, 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 and then what kind of negatives or downsides there was to your tactics. So you can tweak it, which is really cool until you also think that the AI is doing the same thing, and the AI is probably smarter than you. Definitely smarter than me. But I was also wondering if, like, you could tell, like, if you want your fullback playing support, does it like light this green up here? And if so, can you tell them, like, don't go further than that, right? Because sometimes, at least in my games, I feel like my fullbacks are like way too far forward. It's like, I want you supporting, but don't get crazy, right? So is that an option? So that's really interesting change that it shows the recent results. Obviously, it's got the intensity. Is that training, or is that like the speed at which they're running, the tempo? I have no idea. I think this is cool potentially, although it makes me nervous because it looks kind of complicated from a tactical standpoint, and I don't know anything about that. You'll notice there's the medical center over here. I think it shows it later. Man, it's like I'm setting my. I promise, I vaguely remember that. So they've taken the injuries off the squad tab. Now they go to the medical center. Okay, it shows their match load, their training load, how susceptible they are. Okay, so these guys aren't injured. They're risk assessments. Okay, so high, no occurring injuries. So is it one of those things where it's saying, like, hey, don't train them individually, so team training only? Or is that saying they've only done team training? But it's kind of giving you ideas, because, if you've been watching my Dominating Denmark series, we had Vito, who is our box-to-box midfielder, who's been fantastic for us. Come back from injury. He's only allowed to play 60 minutes. I put him in like the last 20 minutes of the last game of the preliminary phase of the Superliga, and he goes out with an injury like 10 minutes later for 2-3 months, something ridiculous. It was a long time, like a torn hamstring. And it's kind of like, maybe there would have been a thing that said, like, hey, susceptible, like, don't even bother, like, rest him some more. So it's helping you kind of manage through those injuries, which of course means if you don't manage through those injuries and you just throw people out there, obviously I'm guessing you're going to have more people on this list here, and that would be bad. All right. This is more of the medical stuff, right? Shows how many injuries you've had compared to the division that you're in. Okay. Who's missed the most? Okay, that's pretty similar to what you have now. I mean, it doesn't show you the averages, but it shows you like how long people have been out. Okay, scouting. Okay, so this is the report. Where's the attributes? Does it not have the attribute? Okay. I don't know. So that's kind of interesting. So you got your scouting done, but maybe if you acknowledge this, the attributes are below, or maybe if you click on them, you're learning some of the attributes. I don't know. That's interesting. So that's quite different. And then you've noticed over here, senior package, youth package, lower tier package. So I think that's the next screen. So different scouting. That's been one of my, not epic beefs, but scouting I feel is a little difficult right now in FM17, at least for a new player like myself. Packages owned determine the amount of players and available to search through, as well as increasing the knowledge level and player role visibility of players covered. Youth packages cover players age 21 and under. Okay, so you have to buy your way into these packages, and how much you spend will give you more players or less players, depending on which way you go with the cash, as to who you can scout. That's interesting. So at first glance, it's like, well, that sucks. But when you think about it, right, like, can you reasonably expect, like, if you got a staff of 4 scouts to scout all of Europe, right? Like, that seems a little unreasonable and would be extremely expensive. That's a lot of plane tickets. That's a lot of EasyJet, right? So But I'm curious how this interacts with, like, if you had more scouts, does the price go down? That's really interesting. So it's limiting your ability potentially to find some of those like great youngsters. I mean, obviously the youth packages are less expensive, right? So, well, no, they're not. What am I literally just said things that weren't true. I thought that said 40 pounds, not 40K. Nah. So it's more expensive to go after the young players once you get to this top level. So that's the same. So that's double, that's double, that's double, that's the same. So you can cover your nation, in theory, and the leagues in your nation for the same cost on either side of the senior packages or the youth packages. But once you get up into the continental or world size package on the youth side, it gets quite expensive to go out and recruit folks. So that, I think that's going to make it less likely that you're going to see, FM series with Wonder Kids, unless like they've greatly enhanced the number of Wonder Kids in the game, or you're just like Bayern Munich, Man United, and you're like, 40K per month, man, not a big deal. But for the small clubs, it's like, that's going to make being a small club really difficult, right? Because some small clubs couldn't even afford the League One package, right? You go at 1.8K a month. It's like, hey, that's, for a League Two team, that might be a lot. I don't know. So that's a pretty significant change, and I'm curious how the implementation of that is going to go. Transfer Center. So this to me just looks like enhancements, right? So it's got the offers out. It shows the positions they can play. That's kind of handy, so you don't have to go like, wait, who is this Brandon Mason kid, right? Like, you can kind of see that. It shows if I guess, is this your transfers? Yes, because it's your budget. It shows he's got another offer on the table. And okay, offer. So this looks the same over here. The names, offer mates. Really, the changes are, I want to say, the club and the position. That's more of like a quality of life update. Like, hey, thanks for adding that. It makes it a little bit easier to remember. Like, if you're really transfer happy where these folks are and where they can play. This is the fantasy draft. I've not played fantasy draft, to be honest with you, so I can't tell you if this is a plus, a minus, or indifferent. But it looks the same, right? I'm guessing this is an addition having the positions listed, and I'm guessing they have the values because it's a draft in the current edition. What was that last screen? Okay, it's more fantasy draft. Yes. So, oh my, I've been going on for 17 minutes on a 4-minute video. So overall, it looks pretty interesting. Like the thing that the match engine, I'd like to see get updated. Obviously. This hierarchy social groups thing is, I think, a massive change. That and the scouting, to me, at first glance, like, you can change the match engine, it can look better, it can look worse, whatever. Hopefully better. But adding in hierarchy and social groups is pretty different. This to me is more of an enhancement, like, versus a completely new feature like this. So I think this and the scouting is the biggest change. We'll have to see what it actually looks like once the beta gets here. That's my thoughts thus far. I'm going to do another video because we've already gone almost 20 minutes here by the time I wrap up. I'm going to do another video on changes I'd like to see as a relatively new player to FM18. And again, you may think that's not very interesting because you're a grizzly old veteran and not like me, but maybe I'll give you a different perspective as to what it's like when you haven't been playing for 10, 15 years. So if you've enjoyed this, smash a like on it, subscribe if you're new, leave a comment. Let me know what were your thoughts when you saw the video on FM18, and we'll see you in the next episode that we have on the channel. The episode about my thoughts will be probably 2 days from now, after this one. Bye. That's not how you wrap videos up. Cut it.